All right, all praise, glory, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High Elohim of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I'll say peace to each and every one of you in the name of the Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, who we know as Jesus the Christ. So I just bless each and every single time that I can come before you to bring a message contained in His Word, and never do I count it as a light thing to do so. In today's message, I want to deal with the second part of adultery, and this is spiritual adultery. Now, what about spiritual adultery? It's similar to physical adultery. Where you have one that is married and one steps out of that marriage and commits adultery with another. So when I say spiritual adultery, I'm speaking about the relationship between the Lord and His church. The relationship between the Lord and His church is likened to that of marriage. Okay, they go into a covenant of marriage, and one is supposed to be faithful to the other. And in this case, what happened is that Israel, who is the church, okay, let's verify that, okay, because you have a lot of factions that say they are the church. You got some people in Rome that say they are the church. Let's go to Acts the 7th chapter and verify who the church is real quick. Acts the 7th chapter, and this is when Stephen, who was martyred, is telling us about the history of Israel and their faithlessness, and he says in Acts 7 and verse, let's see. I'll just pick it up at verse 38 or 37. It says, "This is that Moses which said unto the children of Israel, a prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren like unto me, him shall ye hear. This is he that was in the church in the wilderness, in the ecclesia." This is the church. The church is Israel. Okay. So now, and that relationship between the Lord and His church is like that. Okay. It's like the relationship between a man and his wife, or Isha and Ish. Okay. Ish is the man, Isha is the woman. So this is Ephesians 5 and verse 22. It says, "Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord." So the woman is supposed to be in subjection unto the man. Then it says, why? He said, "For the husband is the head of the wife." Then notice what it says here. "Even as Christ is the head of the church, and He is the Savior of His body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church." So Christ is the bridegroom, and the bride is the church. Okay, His church is Israel. That's who He went into covenant with. Exodus the 19th chapter, He introduces this covenant. Okay, Exodus the 19th chapter, and we'll pick it up at verse 3. It says, "And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bear you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself." Even when they spoiled the Egyptians, that was the bride price, okay, that He paid. Okay, they came out with great substance. He paid a bride price for His bride. Then it says, let's see. "Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine." Okay, so He introduced a covenant, and what did the people say? Verse 8, "And all the people answered together and said, All that the Lord hath spoken, we will do." And Moses returned the words of the Lord of the people. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord. Now so the covenant is introduced. The covenant of marriage is introduced in Exodus 19. Remember, we just read who the church was. The church is Israel. We just saw how Paul likened the relationship between a man and his wife as like that between the Lord and His church. And I want to read something else that I didn't read in Ephesians. I'm gonna go right back there and just make another point to solidify that, because that may be a foreign concept to people. Ephesians 5 again. Notice what it says here. He says, in verse 31, "For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church." Okay. So he said, "Nevertheless, that every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband." That's what you see. He's liking that to that relationship between the Lord and His bride. Exodus the 24th chapter. So now in Exodus 19, the covenant is introduced. In Exodus 24, they go into the covenant. Exodus 24 and verse 3 says, and Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the judgments, and all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord has said, will we do. So they agreed. Okay, so now I'm going to skip down a little bit because he made offerings. We're going to pick it up at verse 6. He says, and Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. Notice what it says here. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people, and they said, all that the Lord has said will we do, and be obedient. So they agree. It's like a woman in the modern context going to before in a marriage and saying, I do. That's what Israel said, I do. But we know that she didn't, right? She was adulterous. But nevertheless, it says, and Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, behold, the blood of the covenant, which the Lord had made with you concerning all these words. So now they went into covenant. But now one thing about it is we know that Israel, as I said, was a harlot. She was an adulterous woman. Let's pick it up in Ezekiel, the 23rd chapter. And he talks about this, Ezekiel, the 23rd chapter, because you read earlier in Torah how, let's go read that. We might as well. We're not in Torah, but in, let's see, give me 1 second to find it. This is in Ezekiel, the 16th chapter. It says, it's talking about Israel, and it says in verse 6, and when I passed by thee and saw thee polluted in thy own blood, because that's how she found, this is talking about the genesis of the nation. That's how she found, or he found Israel in a desperate situation, right? And it says, and when I passed thee and saw thee polluted in thy own blood, I said unto thee, when thou wast in thy blood, live. Yea, I said unto thee, when thou wast in thy blood, live. I have caused thee to multiply as the bud of the field, and thou hast increased and waxen great, and thou art come to excellent ornaments. Thy breasts are fashioned, and thine hair is grown, whereas thou wast naked and bare. Now when I passed by thee, notice what it says here, and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was the time of love. And I spread my skirt over thee, and covered thy nakedness. Yea, I swear unto thee, and entered into a covenant with thee, saith the Lord God, and thou becamest mine. Okay. Then it talks about the things that he gave unto her. Okay. And you saw that coming out of Egypt that I mentioned. But now let's pick it up in Ezekiel, the 23rd chapter. Well, actually, we can read it here in verse 15, Ezekiel 16. He said, but thou didst trust in thine own beauty, and playedest the harlot because of thy renown. And playedest the harlot because of thy renown. And excuse me, I'll read that again. But thou didst trust in thine own beauty, and playedest the harlot because of thy renown, and pouredest out thy fornications on everyone that passed by. His it was. So you would land with everybody. This is spiritual adultery, though. What does that mean? Dealing with false gods. Ezekiel, the 23rd chapter. We're going to pick it up at verse 1. It says, the word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, there were two women, the daughters of one mother, and they committed whoredoms in Egypt. They committed whoredoms in their youth. There were their breasts pressed, and there they bruised the teats of their virginity. Notice who it is. And the names of them were Aholah, the elder, and Aholibah, her sister, and they were mine, and they bare sons and daughters. Who were these women? Thus were their names. Samaria is Aholah, and Jerusalem Aholibah. So that's what represents the northern and the southern kingdom. Okay. And he says in Aholah, that's Samaria, played, or Yisrael, the one that can retain the name Israel, played a harlot when she was mine. And she doted on her lovers, on the Assyrians, her neighbors. Now, and what happened with her? They discovered her nakedness. She was taken into captivity. And then notice what it says here in verse 11. It says, and when her sister Aholibah saw this, she was more corrupt in her inordinate love than she, and in her whoredoms more than her sister in her whoredoms. And so what happened eventually to Judah? She was taken into captivity. The southern kingdom was. So this is what happened. She committed adultery. Let's pick it up in Isaiah 50. And so notice what it says the Lord did. Isaiah the 50th chapter and verse 1. It says, thus saith the Lord, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement, whom I have put away? Or which of my creditors is it to whom I have sold you? Behold, for your iniquities have ye sold yourselves, and for your transgressions is your mother put away. See, so now you see the reason why he's separated from this woman. Jeremiah the 3rd chapter. Jeremiah the 3rd chapter. Notice what it says here. Jeremiah the 3rd chapter. It says, they say in verse 1, they say if a man put away his wife and she go from him and become another man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not that land be greatly polluted? What is that talking about? That's talking about Deuteronomy 24. What does Deuteronomy 24 say? Hold your finger here. Concerning a woman being put away. Because he's talking about divorce, right? But in Deuteronomy 24, it says this. It says, when a man had, verse 1, when a man had taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he had found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hate her and write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife. So if the woman has defiled herself with others, she can't go back and be or lay with us. She can't go back and be that man's wife again. It says her former husband will send her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that, she is defiled. For that is an abomination before the Lord, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. So Jeremiah 3 and verse 1 again. So we have some understanding of what he's talking about here. They say if a man put away his wife and she go from him and become another man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not that land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers. That's what Israel, the bride, has done. Yet return again unto me, saith the Lord. How can you return unto the Lord if you been with another man? You've been spiritually with all these other gods. How are you going to go back to the Lord? You're going to go back to the Lord because he died. And you making a new covenant. It's a brand new covenant. That's how. So now let's pick it up at John the 3rd chapter. And who is the bridegroom? Again, it's the Lord. John the 3rd chapter. So now you had a covenant of marriage that you broke. You went and dealt with others. He divorced the woman. So now can she come back? Well, she's coming back to the Lord, but because the Lord died and then so now it's the establishment of a brand new covenant. But let's determine who the bridegroom is. John the 3rd chapter and verse 29. John the 3rd chapter and verse 29 reads, he that hath the bride is the bridegroom. But the friend of the bridegroom which standeth and heareth him rejoiceth greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. This my joy therefore is fulfilled. That's what John told you, because in the previous verse, it says, ye yourselves bear witness that I said I am not the Christ, but that I am sent before him. So he's telling you about the Lord, Yahushua, or Jesus. He said, I'm not the Christ. I'm the friend of the bridegroom. He is the bridegroom. Let's pick it up at verse 4, Matthew 9 and verse 14. It says, then came to him the disciples of John, saying, why do we and the Pharisees fast off, but thy disciples fast not? Notice what he says here, because he's going to tell you he's the bridegroom. He said, and Jesus said unto them, can the children of the bride chamber mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken from them, and then shall they fast. Right? So the bridegroom, which is him, would be taken away. And he told you something in John the 14th chapter about what he went to do. Just like a bridegroom. He says here in John the 14th chapter and verse 2. John 14 and verse 2, he says, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. Now, he is not the place in heaven where the Father and the Son dwell, because he's going to tell you this in verse 3. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. Where is he going to be? He's going to be right here on this earth. But now, like I said, going back, so he's the bridegroom, and he's going to prepare a place, just like a bridegroom or a husband will prepare a place for his bride. Okay? To live and to dwell in marriage. So now, but this one thing about it, she's been a whore. And I say that because that's how the Bible speaks about it. She has committed whoredom. She is an adulterous woman. He put her away. He divorced her. She broke the covenant. But now, what is he going to do? He died. So now, what? They made it possible for him to establish a new covenant, right? This is Matthew the 26th chapter. And he tells you that. So it's a new covenant of marriage. Matthew 26 and verse 27. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament or covenant, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. Just like they came up under the blood because you always have blood with a covenant. Even when you look at physical marriage, that blood of the covenant is shown on that bed sheet that on what under the when the marriage is consummated. That is evidence of this is evidence of a covenant, right? Because she was ideally when she was a virgin. But now it says, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. All right. So he's going to establish his kingdom, and then he's going to deliver that kingdom up to the Father even. But now let's pick it up in Hebrews, because he told you this is the blood of what? New covenant. And what is the new covenant? We read the old covenant, right? That they made a covenant. The Lord made a covenant with his bride, and they broke it. What did they do immediately after? You read in Exodus 24, they went into covenant. And then in Exodus 32, they make a golden calf. And then Moses came down from the mount. He threw the tables or tablets of stone down because they had broken the covenant. And they continued to violate. They continued to go after false gods until he put this woman, he divorced this woman. But he made a new covenant. What's the new covenant? This is Hebrews, the 8th chapter. And we'll pick it up at verse 7. It said, for if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he saith, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them God, and they shall be to me a people. See, that's the new covenant, and that blood is shed. So when is the culmination of this? Revelation, the 19th chapter. Revelation, the 19th chapter is the culmination of all of this. He said, I go to prepare a place for you, like a bridegroom would do for his bride. Revelation 19, and we'll pick it up at verse 7. It says, let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. That's the church, Yisrael. And Yisrael, understand that you can be of another nation and take hold of the covenant that was made with Israel. Okay? That's why even in Torah, even back then, it was one law for the homeborn, one law for the stranger. But he says, and to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of saints. See, it's about what you do. It's about your faith even. But it says, and he said unto me, right, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said unto me, these are the true sayings of God. All right. So this is the culmination of him going into covenant. But that's a little bit on spiritual adultery, that the woman has committed spiritual adultery. She's dealt with all these false gods, but Israel's going to go back because the husband has died, even paving the way to be saved, paving the way for the resurrection. Jesus Christ, the first fruit stated of Christ at his coming. But as a husband had to die, he died, and then he's establishing a brand new covenant of marriage, and it's culminated when he returns ultimately, the marriage supper of the Lamb. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that we'll be in New Jersey this Sabbath, September 6th, at the Comfort Suites at 1275 Route 1 and 9 South Avenue, New Jersey, at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, that's the Comfort Suites, 1275 Route 1 and 9 South Avenue, New Jersey, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come out and hear the word. Also, we've been meeting every Sabbath at 150 at the Railroad Fan, 153 Garrisonville Road in Stafford, Virginia, at That's 12:30 p.m. I apologize. That's 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be at Comfort Suites in Avenel, New Jersey. That begins at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll say that again for in case there anybody was confused because I think I gave you the wrong time. Comfort Suites at 1275 Route 1 and 9 South, Avenel, New Jersey. That's this Sabbath, September 6th. Service will begin at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We meet in Virginia at the Red Roof Inn, 153 Garrisonville Road, Stafford, Virginia, at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, with that, brothers and sisters, Lord, if you're out in any of those locations, come out and hear the word, uncut, unadulterated. And with that, so is my prayer that you were edified.